Christ I am disciple here, man. We're going to talk some Justice League trailer talk, some breakdown of the trailer, some of the things that you guys may not have seen, which we'll talk about from the trailer. So first things first, this one's not going to have any titles. You guys can jump on here if you want to be a guest on the show or on this little tidbit here. We're not going to take very long, but you guys can hop in anytime you want to. Just click on the link in the chat section. Of course, you can chat up a storm in the chat section if you so wish. But we're going to go through the trailer and only the things that I haven't seen other people covering. All right. What I haven't seen other people covering, that's what we're going to talk about. The other things you can go to the other channels and discuss with them. So, how's everybody doing? First of all, hope you guys are having a great day and a great night. Where I am, it's nighttime. It's 9:21 in the night, and we're about to talk about this. You guys can also leave your questions in there about the trailer. So, the trailer opens up with the death of Superman, with Lex Luthor speaking about how the beings from other worlds can identify that the god is dead, right? But there's another key thing in there. While that commentary is happening, and we see the debris from Gotham Harbor, all that leveled out parts of Gotham Harbor that's on fire, right? While that's happening, we see, of course, that almost sonic boom, electroshock of Superman's scream going across in a ring-like fashion, in a circular fashion, across the seas and across to the clouds. And we had a discussion on whether, how the gods might have heard the signal. It probably wasn't his screams, probably what, awoke the mother boxes, probably was heard around the globe. But we assume that maybe it is that the mother boxes started ringing after that and signaling that Superman triggered it. Or it could be that when Doomsday shot the beam up, the energy beam up into the sky, that could have signaled something. But for a fact, it is you can be assured the new gods knew that Superman was dead. The Kryptonian was dead. Now after that, we see a scene in Themyscira where we see Hippolyta. She's looking out towards the sea while the temple in which the mother box was held is being demolished, and part of the cliff also is being demolished with that temple. Obviously, the Themyscirians decided to destroy the temple and triggered the reaction to destroy it, possibly to destroy the parademons that might have been caught in there, possibly to destroy Steppenwolf, who might still have been inside of there. Who knows what it could be? Okay. Or it could have been simply that they triggered it to prevent any parademons or any other interdimensional breaches that might enter in there, like Darkseid's extra forces of Darkseid coming to Earth. And it could have been after Steppenwolf had already seized the mother box and had left Themyscira. Whichever way it is, we will find out soon enough. But I thought this was also a very interesting bit, which I don't know how many people covered, but I didn't see a lot of people talking about it. And the significance of that, of course, would be that it could stall probably further invasion by Darkseid. But if they failed in their attempt to destroy the mother boxes, it would seem less likely that they would destroy the temple. It could possibly be that here they are causing the self-demolition of the temple, assuming that Steppenwolf is inside of there and that he would crumble with the temple and probably get buried alive in the sea or something, and he probably got out, right? Remember, because his armor, is very interesting. His armor can be spiky. It can be very smooth. It depends, I guess, on his mood. It depends on what necessary defense he needs to have. It seems you see his armor a certain way. Okay, so after that, we see the scene with Batman in the future. Now, we already know from Zack Snyder that this movie is going to be both in the past, it's also going to be in the future, and it's also going to be in the present. Okay, so this movie covers three different times. Okay, so this is what makes this movie so interesting. So that is why Batman v Superman teased a possible future event. Obviously, the future can change with how the present changes. Kind of like X-Men Days of Futures Past, except X-Men Days of Futures Past went into the past to erase the apocalyptic. It's kind of like Terminator 2 as well, where, again, the Terminator was sent back into the past to protect, you know, the then John Connor, the then leader, who would then be the leader of the resistance. It's sort of a story, something like that. It's going along those lines. So here we see Batman in the future. It's really his dream, but he thinks it's a premonition of the future, possible future. And so we're thinking future Batman here. He may be dreaming, but nonetheless, future Batman, because he said, I had a dream, right? And you see him looking out at the waste, the city waste. He's still driving a car of some kind. And I guess he's the head of a resistance. And anything goes at this time. You can see he has a gun, anything goes. All right, so that's a future event. And then we see in the breakdown, we see somebody's viewing my video, but they're not. You can leave comments. You can discuss with me if you're just watching here. You don't need to just watch. You can discuss with me. All right. Anyway, let's continue on. So we also see in the breakdown that Bruce Wayne starts speaking about, I need warriors. And we see Bruce, once again, he's in the town near the sea where Aquaman is. And he's talking and trying to convince Aquaman, Arthur Curry, to join him. Okay? We all know Arthur Curry does not join him. Okay? We all know Arthur Curry actually is very violent. And in the end, ultimately, as we saw in the very first unofficial teaser of Justice League, that Bruce Wayne failed. And he went back and he spoke to Diana about it. So there is some comedy in this movie, obviously. So what happens is that he's saying he needs warriors, and then we see the different warriors. We see Aquaman in action. We see Diana in action. We see Cyborg in action, right? But all of these little snippets in time, for instance, we see Steppenwolf. He's taking up the Electroaxe, and he was about to bring that Electroaxe down on someone. Who exactly, I don't know. Could have been Mira. Could have been one of the Atlantean guards. Who knows, right? But if it was an Atlantean guard, Aquaman stopped him, because Aquaman, we see now, Aquaman's pretty strong. And we see how big Steppenwolf is compared to Aquaman, because Aquaman engages with him again. We see the fight scene inside of the lair that Steppenwolf has made his base of operations. We see him fighting toe-to-toe with Aquaman, right? And Wonder Woman. They're both taking him on. So there's aspects of the Whedon cut that this kind of follows some of the aspects, the beats of the Whedon cut to some degree. Of course, we're going to have a lot more breathing room. It's going to be a lot more elaborations. But, the story kind of moves along those beats. For example, another thing you see inside of the trailer is aspects of the resurrection of Superman. First, we see the Jonathan Kent picture fall into the water, and Superman is being laid down by Aquaman. We see Cyborg, and he's manning the Kryptonian ship controls, which he's plugged into, and we can see the Flash running past him. And we also see a moment when the Flash is actually running, and we can see his face. Either he leaped off the thing or whatever, I don't know. And you can see his face as he's going to probably, again, try to interface with the mother box somehow. By generating energy, he's going to interface with the mother box or something like that. So I thought that was a very interesting, those little snippets in there that we saw, exactly how it works and how the codec will work in that whole process, because the codec, Superman does have the codec within him. And is there some way how this integrates with the codec and it causes Superman to come back to life? We don't know, but we'll find out the specifics of that. DJ Lost and Found, what's up, my brother? Hey, bro, cooking for the kids and listening to your breakdown. All right, all right. So I'm just going through some of the things that you might see inside of the trailer. The other thing that I thought was very interesting was watching a post-apocalyptic Batman. Post-apocalyptic Batman with the Bat Tank. So it seems as though the future changes such that Batman now, instead of having a Batmobile or a bat plane, he has a bat tank, which reminds us of The Dark Knight Returns. And we see that that's probably somewhere in the end of the movie. I guess the future has been changed somewhat by the Flash. And so what we're seeing is Batman in the dark with a bat tank. But in the background, you can see some like it looks like smoke or something. And he's on a sort of a sort of on a sort of like a dirt road, you can see, and he's sitting on top of one of the cannons of the bat tank. So it's really cool. Um, but having said that, there are other things you will see in the breakdown. Like, for example, if you guys were paying attention, you would notice not just Darkseid, Granny Goodness, and Desaad in that picture, but the Omega symbol is everywhere on drapes. The Omega symbol, is everywhere. If you look, the design of the place is Omegas everywhere, and that's again the indoctrination, the brainwashing of Darkseid. Darkseid has formed this cult, this worldwide cult, and he's building more pharaohs by conquering, almost like an Adolf Hitler style or Donald Trump style, where he's going out and he's indoctrinating other people. So if you notice, the Omega symbols everywhere on those drapes. You can just freeze the pictures and look at the Omega symbols everywhere. DJ Lost and Found says, thoughts on Joker? I like Letter's portrayal in Suicide Squad. Yeah, of course. I enjoy Joker. I just think he was robbed of the really spectrum. Like he said in the deleted air cut scene, you should be ashamed of yourself. Joker obviously obviously, obviously was underplayed in Suicide Squad. Unfortunately, a lot of his scenes were cut out of the movie, and really, one of the greatest scenes I saw in the air cut that he allowed to go to the screen was him and Harley dancing. That classical, Joker and Harley Quinn picture, right? So you could see David Ayer was immortalizing him, really doing a great job with the comic. But unfortunately for David Ayer, he did not get his vision on the screen either. And so that's why we are pressing for release the Ayer cut. And also we're pressing for the restoration of the Snyderverse, which will come. Currently, just saying, this is a by the way thing as I continue my breakdown. And you guys can join in. You can again attend here as a guest. I have room for you guys. But basically what I was saying is that, it's about 8 million views right now that the video, HBO Max's original picture, Zack Snyder's trailer has right now, which is enormously good. But we need to we're trying to get really to 20 million views by the end of the week. And I couldn't resist watching the trailer, God knows how many times, right? And so in the trailer, as you mentioned, Joker's in the trailer, right? That shouldn't be a spoiler for anybody. And it was fantastic because this is a post-apocalyptic Joker. Of course, Joker has no allegiances. Obviously, Batman is going to Joker to try to get his help, which is why Joker is speaking about, honor being such a distant thing. And of course, he used the meme as well as it was conveniently used and correctly used to say, in today's society, this is the way how things are. So he was really actually using with some virtue and value behind it. But aside from that, Joker really was, you could see this is a much more, because the world has gotten so crazy, and so out of control and very brainwashed into servitude for Darkseid. And Superman, of course, being a servant and a tool for Darkseid now, because we've seen all of that in the BVS Nightmare scene. Because of that, Joker, he's sober. To see a sober Joker's crazy. But is Joker trustworthy? That is the question. So what is the role that Joker will play in this movie? We don't know. You know, uh, it could possibly be that he betrays Batman, which is not beyond Joker. Joker has no allegiances to anyone. So a lot of people are assuming that Joker will team up with Batman and will team up with Deathstroke to try to take out Superman and the apocalyptic forces in this post-apocalyptic time. But we don't know. Okay, we see Joker. He hands, of course, Batman a card, his Joker card, and we see Batman leave and come out to the place saying, "Did you get it? The Rock, the Kryptonite." And Batman was betrayed in that moment. So we don't know if Joker is an ally or an enemy, and we don't know how things will work out. But we will see. Obviously, members of the Justice League are dead, so we will find out a lot about that. That post-apocalyptic scene is going to be really critical to us understanding where this movie is going. But going back to the breakdown, so we have all these different Justice League members with different powers. We see the Flash, okay? So we see him in the resurrection of Superman. We also see the Flash in the fight inside of the abandoned town where he's running at a breakneck speed, right? He's running really fast and zipping along. We've seen it in other trailers too, moving what seems to be using the speed force to move super fast, almost as fast as lightning. But there is another scene which maybe you guys can help me out with this because I don't even know what it is. This humongous sort of almost the same color as the Flash, this blue kind of blur. And I don't know if that's an explosion. I really don't know what that is. And you can see everything kind of sucking into it. So I don't know. It could be one of those portals in which Darkseid or Steppenwolf, it could be the formation of that stuff where Steppenwolf has to go through a boom tube. Maybe it's a boom tube being formed. I don't know what the heck it is, but it is something that really gets my attention. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is in the breakdowns. Maybe somebody in the break can explain that. Now we see a sort of monolithic rock where Steppenwolf is bowing down to Desaad, and Desaad is you can see Desaad's towering. The image of Desaad, at least, is towering over the rock, and he's almost like hellish, and you see sparks coming off of him and stuff. And that is interesting and a curiosity. But here's something that's very curious that I didn't hear anybody talk about. When you have a close-up look at Cyborg, because we actually saw part of Cyborg's first flight. So what you guys saw was Cyborg when he jumped off the building and went up into the sky. That's his first flight. That's where we saw it in the background stuff with the because there's a lot more to the story where Cyborg has to dodge parademons to make sure that he protects the mother box, and the parademons come back to his home and they're looking for him, and he realizes that, and he can't return the mother box to the house. This is all after the tunnel fight, okay? And we already saw all that background stuff, but we also saw the background stuff for Cyborg's first flight. So how I know that that's Cyborg jumping off the building where he was and he's going up into the sky flying. People think he's afraid. He's not afraid. He's excited, and he doesn't really know what will happen. So he's leaped up into the sky, and he's going to crack the clouds, and he's going to zigzag, and then he's going to take off and fly straight towards the camera. All right. So that's what that scene there was. But the scene, it's going to be glorious. Trust me, it's going to be glorious. It doesn't matter how many times I could spoil the daylights out of this film. You'll still want to see it because it's so glorious. And that wasn't even perfectly CG'd. It wasn't completed. CG wasn't completed in that, and it was just crazy. Even when he was levitating off the ground, learning how to use his rocket boosters, and he realized he could fly. Oh man, it was so crazy. And all this stuff was cut from the movie. DJ Lost and Found says, yeah, none of us know what's going on with the Speed Force scene with the Flash. It's one I think Zack won't spoil. Yeah, there's a lot to the Flash. He's very nerdy and stuff, and so we're going to see the nerdy side of the Flash, hopefully, in Zack Snyder's Justice League. Not the goofy Flash But the nerd, he's going to be a little bit goofy, I guess. He's still going to be what he is, but I think not as goofy as we saw with and he's actually going to be in combat. Actually, he's going to do a lot more combat, so it's going to be very exciting. Now, another thing I noticed nobody's really talking about. There's two things I wanted to talk about that I observed in both trailers. In the trailer, the first one is: have you ever looked at how Darkseid, the metallic thing? Because what I noticed about both the Kryptonians and the Apocalyptans is they all have technology. They all depend on technology. Steppenwolf, you can see, he has an exoskeleton armor, okay, which goes all the way up to his horns and his face and his head and protects him completely. And this exoskeleton armor reminds me of Kryptonian materials in that it can morph into different things. It can become spiky. It can stay. Seems to have its own emotion almost, or it abides with. It's almost like a bio. It's almost like a bio armor. Now that I think of it, okay. But what's interesting about that is it seems to be the same kind of armor that Cyborg has. So what you notice is Darkseid's headpiece, where he has that little circular thing there and that kind of thing for his neck and stuff. We know it's an armor that's holding up his body, but nonetheless, that headpiece is very similar to Cyborg's headpiece, and the way of Cyborg's. And remember, Cyborg comes from, he was created because of the mother box, which I would like to know if Darkseid and all these guys, what their relationship they have to the mother boxes. Because I believe the mother boxes, why it's so important that they get back the mother boxes is because that's what terraforms the apocalyptic worlds and brings about the technologies and all that stuff. So they more than likely will want back those mother boxes for many different things. But to see Darkseid having that similar setup with his neck and his chin and his head is very, very similar to Cyborg's headpiece and his chin piece and so on. And I believe Cyborg obviously can communicate with Darkseid and so on. And it kind of reminds me again, it kind of overlaps with the Kryptonian technologies that we have seen. So I just thought that was very interesting. I didn't hear really a lot of people talking about that. I did see somebody on Twitter bring it up. But for the most part, once again, I just find these things fascinating, when I look at the trailers. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was when you look at the Kryptonian landscape. This is very interesting. We haven't seen a whole lot of Kryptonian landscape, but if you do remember, the apocalyptic landscape maybe, but it's much hotter, but it may be, have some kind of parallels with the Kryptonian landscape because we have creatures that live in machines. Even the parademons are creatures, right? They kind of look like insects. And then you have Desaad, who kind of looks like an insect, and they all have these six-digit hands. So that everything with them is 6 digits. They have 6-digit hands. They have hoofed feet. If you look at Steppenwolf, when he's fighting, his feet are hoofed, and he has this kind of almost like a goat-like feet. And I found that very interesting. Again, something that nobody else has been talking about, and I just thought I would suggest that it may be they're terraformed for that kind of environment, the apocalyptic environment. The other interesting thing I noticed was, unlike Krypton, apparently when they terraform the Earth into apocalypse or make an apocalyptic Earth, the humans on Earth, or the creatures, the humans, whatever exists on Earth, they still behave very much like they can exist, they can breathe and stuff. So I just thought that was also very interesting that the apocalyptic technology does not terraform the Earth like how the Kryptonian technology did. Now, because again, Darkseid just wants to take your will from you, but apparently there's still humans that exist because Superman, allows human beings to exist. So maybe Superman owns the domain, or he rules over the domain at the point in time. Now, Zack Snyder talked about Darkseid boom tombing in and killing Lois Lane. So I don't know how that will work, but anyway, So going on about the trailer. So like I said before, we saw the Flash on display. Then we also saw Cyborg on display. And Cyborg, one of the key points that you saw, and it was, I think it actually was in either the very first trailer or the first teaser. I can't remember which one it was, where we saw Cyborg holding the mother boxes and he was screaming and he was looking up in the sky. And we were wondering if Cyborg would be killed or what would happen to him. Because we don't know if Cyborg might die in this movie either. But apparently he doesn't, because we see him at the end of the movie looking into the sunset with the Justice League, where the flying fox is there and they're about to mount the flying fox. So possibly not. But anyway, the thing is, we see what caused Cyborg to be looking up in the sky going, ah! We got what it was now, because he was holding the three mother boxes, which kind of overlapped with one another, and an energy blast blasted out of the boxes as he was trying to tap in and plug into them and blasted him backwards, right? So I don't know exactly what that has. That was a yellowish looking LNG blast thing. So that's a very interesting thing that I didn't hear a lot of people commenting about. Again, in the trailer, which is that Cyborg literally something like blasted out of the air, like an energy burst blasted out of the mother box, and he was like looking up at the sky, and he was like blown away. So what happened there? We don't know, right? Yeah, but that's a very interesting thing that happened. And then we see Cyborg as Victor Stone. He's in Victor Stone. He's dressed in his normal football gear for Gotham City football team. And we see also that we know from other clips and stuff that Cyborg, we see him moving missiles and stuff like that. And so I'm not too sure what that has to do with anything. I don't know if it's, and you can see him moving his arms and orchestrating and moving things. I do not know what that has to do with anything. Okay. That is a scene that I think a lot of people are baffled by and they're just kind of guessing. But if I were to try and accumulate all the information I knew from all of the different trailers that I've seen, anytime Cyborg is in his head, at least, or thinking in his head, I do assume that this is him either having some sort of thoughts or he's somewhere inside of his head, because a lot of times we're going to see the camera zoom right up into Cyborg's eye and then it goes inside of his head, right? There are several different scenes where that happens. And I've seen some deleted scenes, not deleted scenes, but scenes that weren't put into the actual movie, and it is always zooming up into Cyborg's eye. So I'm assuming that's one of those moments where it zooms up into his eye, and here he is um, in his head, seeing himself as Victor Stone, and then it's either his dead parents we're talking about, or it's um, him controlling things and learning how to control things, or whatever. I don't. I really can't say. We know that there's going to be flashbacks to him, in his days playing football and being an athlete. We're going to see that scene, and we're going to understand why and what is really going on. But again, I can't really tell you exactly what is going on when I see him in his football clothing. But I do believe this is him with a digital perception of himself, and it's somewhere inside of his head. Some people are saying it's a dream state, or he's probably being influenced by a mother box, or this is the moment where he gets to see Darkseid. I don't know about all of that. I can't read all into that, but I can tell you that's again another blank spot that we will understand when we see the movie. Um, and I've been looking extensively for different pieces of information to gather from that, but I just couldn't piece that piece together. Um, Hold on a second. But he seems to be Yeah, no problem, brother. You go ahead. You tap out and do what you got to do, brother. Yeah, he seems to be able to. Um, Cyborg seems to be able to manipulate things and very well and access information from many different places. You know, he's very powerful. So we'll find out more about him in time. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the storyline for Steppenwolf going to Atlantis to get the mother box, for Steppenwolf going to Earth to get the mother box, and for Steppenwolf going to um, Themyscira to get the mother box. Makes sense, okay? But all the from what Zack Snyder has told us, each mother box is covered in a box of some kind to protect them, and there are different materials that are used to make these boxes. And he was talking about this goozy kind of material that was used to preserve the mother box in Atlantis. And of course, we're going to see a host of characters that did not appear up in the trailer. You got Volko. We didn't see Mira. There's also going to be some other elders of Atlantis. We're going to see um, Victor Sone's father, his mother, Iris West. Well, she was actually in the trailer. Um, we're going to see, of course, what also you guys need to understand is the Flash when he runs, he can when he tries to pull up brakes on the ground, he slides over the surface of the earth, and it causes a ripple effect from his vibrational patterns. How fast? And from what I heard, the Flash, he could vibrate so fast he could actually vibrate in between the particles of a wall and go through walls and stuff. So it's gonna be really crazy when I don't know if we'll see that in this particular version that Zack Snyder has, but you never know. Um, So, what else can I give you in the trailer that people haven't broken down? Because they talked about Granny Goodness, they talked about Desaad, they talked about um, the major beats. They talked about Joker. They talked about um, all the major stuff. All the major stuff. Darkseid showing up. Uxas. See Uxas, the early Darkseid, as he sends the battle axe down. We saw Steppenwolf send the battle axe down and engrave the Omega symbol into the ground and the anti-life equation. And that's another thing. How the anti-life equation will actually be, now we know it's shown in a visual form, but how it's actually applied is what is going to be very interesting. Like the conversion of parademons into these humans into parademons, and full-blooded or Amazonians into parademons or whatever into parademons will be very interesting to see how that comes through. And do we see more of Granny Goodness and the Furies, or is she just a side note? We don't know. We don't know. It's very interesting. I know that Ava DuVernay is supposed to, carry on that torch with the new gods, and it would be great if she could collab somehow with Zack and work her story. Because I think the best collaborations are when the directors at least have some sort of collaboration with Zack, because the action scenes of movies, I think, is Zack is just so great with action, and you have the great some stunt team or personnel from Zack to do stunts to get such fluid action. I think that's what, like I said before, I think Patty Jenkins made a mistake by not doing the action sequences using Zack's stunt people, or the people at least who do stunts and work with Zack, because that Wonder Woman 84 would have done so much better if the stunt work was just as fluent as it should have been. I think that was the one mistake she made. Like I said before, what made the movie cheesy was the movement and the exaggerated ridiculousness that at certain points just was ridiculous for me. I couldn't stand it. um, so it was the action scenes. If she had the action, because the rest of the story was pretty good. I mean, the story it was. I mean, it's a fantastical story. So I don't expect, it was for kids, so I didn't expect it to be held to the T, in making sense. That wasn't so important as having the action sequences properly executed. And I think that's where Patty sort of lost out, because if you had great action and the story, it's just kind of loosely put together, it's like a Marvel film somewhat, but probably better. But the action just let it down. So with respect to anything else that I have to say about this movie, and nobody's jumped on here to be a guest, no problem. See if I left out anything here. Oh, oh, that's about it. Nope. That's about it. So I didn't really see anything extra that I should be talking about right now concerning the trailer that everybody else. You can just go to any channel, any place, and they probably go at length about, you know, the stuff in the trailer. Um, I was listening to, who was it? Some group, and it was really good. It was really good. They were giving a really nice breakdown of different things. But even in the teasers that led up to the trailer, some of the things in the teasers, excuse me, it didn't end up in the trailer because there's just too much stuff to pack into one trailer. And one of the things that from the teasers was, of course, seeing the changed landscape where they kind of set up their hive, their nest, their whatever. Which reminds me, when we saw Steppenwolf speaking to Desaad from Earth inside of that his refuge or hideaway or tower thing, that was pretty interesting as well. Just watching the different parademons and the different regalia, the different size parademons. There were different sizes of parademons as well. I just thought that was very interesting. Um, and we'll obviously find out more about that, in the movie itself. Okay, so now that we've spoken about that, I heads up everybody. You go to my community section, and if by a certain time, uh, HBO Max doesn't have circulation worldwide, we're going to use what's called a buddy system, where we're going to pair up with different people. We're going to use VPNs to access American market so we can purchase the movie, because we're all of us are going to purchase the movie. And hopefully, I can also assist in some way, shape, or form with us all working together to get everybody with jerseys and stuff, so that afterwards we could have this big shebang. I hope that we all discuss the movie. Like I said, I'm going to take about a day or two before I discuss the movie with you guys. But hopefully, you guys will come out and discuss the movie at the length. And I'll like to be on a panel, like a ten set panel or whatever, once the internet's working. And I can also be a host for that if you guys want me to host it. But ultimately, in the end, I just want to be part of a panel where people are discussing this stuff and just, spend the whole day just discussing it. Like, I'm telling you, 24-hour event. I'm not playing, dudes. I'm serious. Just spend the whole day discussing. It'll be really awesome because this is a 4-hour epic. So it's gonna be, and Zach's a very detailed person. So that this is gonna be epical. But in the meantime, if you guys are having difficulties purchasing, that's the way how we will solve the problem. Now, I did see from Warner Media, they put out again the different areas. Will be HBO Asia takes care of the people in Asia and India and so on. So I'm surprised people are still saying, well, what about my place and what about my provider? They're saying that over and over. And the UK, people in the UK and people in Europe. But just in case, if it doesn't pull through, we're going to use the VPNs and we'll pair up in the buddy program. And some people will sponsor some people. Also, some people, if you can put out ads, if you got the money, if you don't, what we can do is share stuff that other people are doing So share the trailer with as many people as you know, on many platforms you know, in many groups as you know. And especially Facebook has a lot of groups. Twitter has also, you know what you can do on Twitter? You can put Zack Snyder's Justice League or Snyder Cut as a topic, and whenever that topic is mentioned, you'll tap into different things. Also, what you can do also is you can form a list. You can do what is called listing on Twitter. Now, I don't know too much about the other social media platforms, but some of you know how to use those things. Use those things to the benefit to promote this film online. Now, offline, we also have to have a campaign organized. And Release the Snyder Cut. They're the people who um, RTSC, as they call them. They were the people who put out the idea of how to have alternate payments just in case the payments do not come through any other way. I'm going to talk to you guys later. I am what you know. I am Christ. I am disciple. I do want to talk a little bit more about some other interesting things when it comes to the Snyder Cut and also with the Snyder teaser. Zack Snyder spoke about what was it? No, there's something else. Oh yeah, Deborah Snyder. She also spoke a bit about the Snyder Cut and Zack's 5 arc and story, and also the potential that Jared Leto's uh, Air Cut could come out. She talked about also Martian Manhunter and how interesting it would be for him to have his own movie as well. So there's a lot of scope and there's a lot of breath that can be given to this movie and the universe that this movie could provide for. And of course, on Twitter, I know a lot of Snyder Cut fans are fighting for that as we speak. There was a petition that was passing around to restore the Snyderverse, and you guys can sign up for it and then share the information, or you can sponsor. So you should check that out. Again, my Twitter is at AEPGM 42, and you'll find it somewhere in my feed. As well as you can look forward to us keeping on promoting being positive and promoting American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, AFSP, as well as we will also be talking about Feeding America. There are certain artists like Boss Logic, of course, who's coupling up with Zack Snyder. And there's a lot of artists on there. I myself being an artist myself. So you guys can check out my stuff and also help me out where you can. But this has been me for now. I just wanted to come on this channel, talk a little bit about the Snyder Cut tonight. And it's about 10:03 now, 43 minutes and something into this feed. If there's anybody else who wants to come and hop in on the feed, I'll try and be more predictable next time and actually give you guys a heads up on Twitter or maybe even on Messenger, depending. But shout out to DJ Lost and Found. It was very nice having him here. I'm going to catch you guys later. I am Christ, I am Disciple, and we are out of here. But I am so excited for the Snyder Cut. I just thought I'd do it. Oh, the other thing is, again, for those of you who don't know, I'm compiling a playlist of all the reactions to the Snyder Cut trailer. So I'll probably post it up on Twitter or something, and you guys can go through all of them if you want. Just put it on 2x and just let it run, and just listen to different people say their takes and how they feel about it and stuff. But that's all I got for now. I'm gonna catch you guys later. There's something else I want to talk about. I'll talk about it some other time. But you guys have a great one. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay alive, and God be with you all. Peace.